Hey YouTube, it's me, Lupe, and Jorge again. Like I had said before in my previous videos, I wanted to talk a little bit about identifying with the lesbian community. And I'm going to say first off that the beginning of this video at least, is going to be directed probably maybe a little bit more towards people who do identify as lesbians and butch lesbians, just as a way you can maybe if you have felt the way that I have before and whatnot. But then it'll be a little bit different at the end, and I'll explain that obviously in a little bit. But I'm probably going to tell you something that a lot of you probably already might assume and whatnot. But just to start, so I want to talk about identifying with the lesbian community. What the fuck is the first thing that comes to mind for me when it comes to the lesbian community. The lesbian community is very diverse and whatnot, but I personally have struggled a little bit with fitting in and identifying that way. So previous to me living in Denver, Colorado, I didn't really hang out with very many lesbians. I worked at the LGBT Center in Milwaukee and primarily hung out with gay men and straight men. And then I had a few straight identifying female friends as well. But mostly I hung out with only boys. And that goes to say, like, forever. Like, when I think of, like, friends of mine before that, there's very, very, very few lesbians that I've been friends with. I definitely have a lot of straight female friends from, like, high school and stuff like that, but it's a little bit different. I've struggled with finding a niche for me within the lesbian community. When I had moved to Colorado after getting out of the Navy back in 2008, I found myself meeting and hanging out with pretty much only lesbians. The first place that I had gone to that was kind of going out was this small coffee shop and bar in Denver, and it was owned and run by lesbians, and a very accepting place for lesbian women. So that was the first place that I had gone, just knowing that there's probably not going to be any kind of weird situations. It's going to be comfortable, you know. It's a gay community and whatnot. That's just primarily female, so maybe I can find some people that I relate with. I definitely did. But for the first time ever, I did find myself hanging out with, like, only women, and while I get along with a lot of them, I always felt kind of a little bit different. I'm a little bit more masculine than a lot of my friends, and the only ones that I can honestly think of that were in the same situation as me have now transitioned, except for one. And they're all men, and they're the ones that I've actually gotten along with the most, so it is interesting that they are transgendered as well. But the lesbian community, whether a lot of them are aware of it or not, still really do put a pressure on femininity. I have had situations where it's been uncomfortable for the fact that I am a butch lesbian and I present very masculine. I act very masculine. I have feminine quirks, and I'll get to that in a minute, but I'm definitely more on the masculine side of things. And it can kind of put you in a different position outside of the group of friends, as far as, like, feelings and emotions go and stuff like that. But an interesting thing that I've always kind of run into is friends of mine will be joking, and it's not offensive to me or anything. I don't want it to seem like that, but they'll be joking, and they'll be like, "You're the gayest man I know," and it's funny, but it actually resonates with me a little more than I feel like it would with most people. Because to me, it's saying, like, yeah, I have these little feminine quirks about me, but they relate me, my friends, my peers relate me more to a gay male than a gay female. And that always kind of put a question in my mind as to, am I trans? But I don't want that to be something that pressures me into being trans. And it was a constant struggle. Like, I have dealt with it, like, for years, and on and off, of course, but it just would make me think about things a little bit more. And then, something that's been difficult for me is, since I have had a hard time identifying with the lesbian community, would it just be easier if I transitioned? And that's not a question that should be a reason for someone to just transition. Like, just because it might be easier. Well, I look masculine and people think I'm male, but then it gets really uncomfortable when they realize I'm female. So if I just transitioned, then it cuts out that uncomfortableness and it's whatever. Like, that's not, those aren't solid things that are reasons to transition. They cause an emotional reaction, but they're not things that are like, body dysphoria and feeling like I'm a man on the inside, just in the wrong body and such. Those just kind of bring up questions for me. And I don't know if other people have, like, dealt with that or not, but being a butch lesbian, I feel like there's not as many within the community. There's not very many older butch lesbians that, us younger lesbians have to look up to. Having to be pressured to act feminine in certain ways, when you're, why they shouldn't be pressuring you to act feminine. Like, you don't need to necessarily act super feminine to, not feel like a woman. And I don't really understand, like, where it comes from. I have a hard time relating on a lot of levels, and that's a big one. But like, it's hard to just be accepted into, I feel like, the lesbian community as a whole, when you are on the more masculine side of things. And even lesbians who have been more masculine, within media and stuff like that, are still, more androgynous and kind of put in the middle, and will still wear women's clothing, and things like that. Just because it pops in my head, like Ellen DeGeneres, like, I love Ellen fucking to death, but I can't really see her as, like, a role model for me. I've always been in lesbian relationships, and every girl except for one has only ever been with other women, and that has made it difficult for me as well, because when I feel like, I'm more masculine and I question being trans, then how does that play out for me in a relationship when I'm dating girls who only date girls and they love women, and a lot of the things that they'll love about me are the very feminine and female things about me, some of which are things that bother me. So it can get really uncomfortable when someone's like, "Oh, I love you have, like, just these slight curves and it's so cute," and it's just kind of like, I know they're slight, they're there, I really wish they weren't. But, they love that, and it's like, how do you say, I fucking hate that, without being offensive or anything like that, or seeming kind of rude, like an asshole to your girlfriend? And with that being said, I'm going to get into now, I kind of had a revelation of sorts. I just broke up with my girlfriend, and it kind of hit me a little bit differently than I felt like it would. I feel like has made me internally search a little bit harder, and come more to the conclusion that what has been holding me back a lot from exploring the transgendered ness, I guess, that I display, that because I've been only in lesbian relationships with women who only date women and only have ever dated women, that has been something that has kept me from doing what I really think I need to do. I'm relationship wired. I run on relationships. I love relationships. I'm an extremely faithful and dedicated person. And in this last one, I feel like because I've been holding that back for so long, that's what kind of pushed this relationship apart. So with that being said, I am now going to be speaking with doctors and figuring out the whole process here in Las Vegas to transition. I just moved out here literally a month and a half ago, so I don't really have, the 411 yet on everything that happens here. So if anyone out there who happens to see this is from Las Vegas and knows a lot of the resources, I do have a really good friend who went to a doctor, and he has recommended that I go there as well. We were talking about how much it would cost and stuff, but I forgot to mention to him and discuss that I am insured. So as far as doctor visits and stuff go, my insurance will cover that. I'm not sure yet if they'll cover testosterone and things like that. It's something that I'll have to figure out. But so I'm gonna see a counselor and start just kind of weaving my way through that. So then if I do end up starting to transition, because I don't want to say for sure that I am, because I haven't spent enough time on it with myself, and with that being the only thing that I have to deal with. And my life right now is pretty simple, so I can really spend a lot of time doing that. I'm just in school. I'm not working yet. So I plan on just kind of taking the next month and really working that out, and then seeing where I can go from there. So I'll update you guys probably in a couple weeks as to where that's going and what's going to be happening from this point on. So there it is. I've never identified with the lesbian community, and now I'm going to explore the true reasons why I haven't. So thanks, and if you got any questions or you can help me out in any way, you can comment, send me a message, anything. Find me on Tumblr, Instagram, something. I'll put the links down below. It's all Milehighlupe, so it's not too hard to figure out. But I will do that for you, and I hope you guys keep in touch for my journey.